Hey, third grade class, SDS, this is Mrs. Kornthal. I hope you're all working diligently as unto the Lord, loving God and loving your neighbor. We are turning to language arts, week 2. You should be starting on April 6th. Is that Monday, April 6th? Anyways, and we are on page 157 in your language arts book. So here is, get to the right page. You should see the girl signing in ASL. Thank you. It should look like this. So here we are. Oh, there it is, language arts. Number 2, pages 157 to 160. All right, and you are not copying, but we are going to go over this together. And I will take pauses for you to answer before me on some of these. I wish I could call on you and hear your voices, but I'm going to do my best. Okay, let's read it together. An adverb is a word that describes a verb. Okay, so an adverb is a word that describes a verb. You got that. Some adverbs tell when the action of the verb happened. Nate played baseball yesterday. Do you see that? It says yesterday. That's when he played. When did Nate play? He played yesterday. Some adverbs tell how often the action of the verb happened. Nate always eats good breakfast. How often does Nate eat breakfast? Always. Okay, so let's look at the, think A. Look at the verb in the circle. So verb, we're looking for a verb in the circle the adverb that tells how, when, or how often. Draw a small arrow, from each adverb to the verb. Make sure your arrow goes in the right direction and describe it. Okay, so let's look at the first one together. John shot that baseball perfectly. So how did John shoot the ball? How, when, or how often? John shot, this is what he shot, but how did he do it? He shot perfectly. And you want to go from the adverb to the verb. Okay, John shot the baseball perfectly. Okay, let's look at the next one. Suddenly, the balloon popped. What answers how, when, or how often? When, suddenly, or how, suddenly. Suddenly. So circle suddenly, and it goes from the adverb to the verb it describes. So suddenly popped, it popped suddenly. Silas, number 3. Silas went camping Saturday. Silas went, we know that's the verb because it's underlined. Went camping when, or how often, or how. When did he camp? Saturday. He went Saturday. Camping is what he did. Today, Lewis said his Bible verse. Said is, we know, is the action. That's the verb. And what answers how, when, or how often? Today. We circle today, and we draw an arrow from today to the word said. Ava usually says thank you. How or when or how often does Ava say? Usually. That means she has manners. She usually says thank you. That's awesome. Okay, moving on. Draw a line from each verb to the adverb you think best matches. Now, some of you might get different answers on here. So maybe, let's see. Let's think of Mrs. Graves. How does she sing? Beautifully. You might, let's see, from the verb to the adverb. There you go. But maybe you're thinking about, maybe you're thinking about your little sister who just screeches Frozen songs. And you might actually say, sings, well, maybe she sings sometimes. Okay, so you can change these however you want. Maybe you eat politely. Maybe you jump suddenly. Maybe you hug gently. Maybe you laugh beautifully. I would probably say laugh sometimes and sing beautifully. So you can make those whatever you want. Okay, so whatever you want from that one. Okay, let's move down. What kind of sentence write the kind of sentence using the red adverb. So declarative, we know that is just a regular old informational sentence with slowly. Okay, so maybe I read slowly. Kevin, what do you need at the beginning of every sentence? What does it start with? You all know, and you're smiling. Say it out loud. A capital letter. Make sure you have end punctuation, boys and girls. Don't be lazy on this. Also, make sure you have clear words, and don't change this red adverb. Use it as is. Imperative, that's a bossy sentence. Exclamatory, you know that ends with an exclamation, so that's going to end in an exclamation point. Imperative is the bossy sentence. Declarative. So let's say, I'm going to make this very simple. I read the book slowly. Now, could I also say I slowly read the book? I slowly, yes, your adverbs can be in a different spot in your sentence. Slowly read the book. Okay, quietly, imperative quietly. How about chew more quietly or sing more quietly? Please, and you could be polite. You could say, please quietly do your work. Okay, so I'm going to let you put that, but make sure you have your capital letters and your end punctuation. Exclamatory. I want to go now. I want an Oompa Loompa now. You decide what you're going to put there. All right. You can pause for the day and come back to this tomorrow, or we can keep working. I'm going to start on page 157. So now's your chance to decide, do you want to finish this page, keep going, or do you want to come back to this tomorrow? And you can just start the video and go fast and get to this point. Okay, so here we go. Page 158. It says, circle the correct adjective for each comparison. So we're circling the correct adjective for each comparison. That is the dirty, dirtier, dirtiest dog I've ever seen. So when you're comparing, do you remember with adjectives? When you're comparing to a big group, and it's the most in a big group, so the dog you've ever seen, like of all the dogs in the world, this is the dirtiest. Okay, so when you're comparing to all the other dogs, so more than just, you're just comparing to a huge group, you're going to pick EST for the ending. Okay, Sylvia has curlier, curliest hair than Lydia. Now, when you're comparing to just one other person, so when you're choosing between two, it is curlier. Curlier. So when you're comparing Sylvia, you see Sylvia here? When you're comparing Sylvia to Lydia and just two, you use curlier. Okay, I don't want you to get confused by that. Of all the drawings, you see that? The one of the elk is the beautiful, more beautiful, or most beautiful. So of all the drawings, not comparing it to one other one, but of all the other ones, it's most beautiful. Okay, today, number 4, today is the colder, or coldest day we have had this week. So comparing to all the other days in the week, it is the coldest. Awesome. Who is doing well? Give yourself a pat on the back if you are. Okay, a peacock has a colorful, more colorful, or most colorful feathers than a robin. Okay, so we see it's comparing to one other bird. So a peacock has more colorful. So the first one, if it was just colorful, if you were just telling about the peacock and nobody else, you would say colorful. If you're comparing the peacock to one other peacock or another bird, it's more colorful when you compare two. When you compare 3 or more in a group, when you compare a group, you would say most colorful. Okay, here we go. Number 6. Josiah's flashlight is brighter or brightest than Emmett's flashlight. Again, you're only comparing 2, so it would be brighter. My mom's sugar cookies are crunchier, or crunchiest than Grandma's cookies. Are we comparing to all the cookies in the world or just Grandma's? just grandma's, so it's crunchier. I like soft cookies. Some people like crunchier cookies. It's up to you. Think about what you want. Maybe you can bake some cookies this week. All right, here we go. Sophia's new pillow. Sophia, I miss you. Sophia's new pillow is soft, softer, or softest than her old one. So it's comparing to one other pillow, her old pillow. So it's softer. I hope you're getting these, boys and girls. If not, I want you to make your own corrections. And here, this is a remember section. This has been a long time. So your parents might not be able to get this, but I know you know it. Be extra careful, go slow. We're going to use the proofreader's marks to insert commas, quotation marks. Now remember quotation marks. Show me your fingers. Quotation marks always come in sets of 2. Yes, period and end punctuation marks. So that's anything else. Maybe it's a question. Maybe it's an exclamation. Okay, so here we go. Josh, tell your dad thank you for the recommendation of this app, by the way. It's been really helpful. Okay, use proofreader's marks. So we're going to do that. Jesus said, ye are the light of the world. I love our old English. Here we go. So it is a direct quote. You see Jesus said with the comma. So for a direct quote, we're going to add our direct quote right here. Ye are the light of the world. And don't forget, when you have quotation marks, you need your end quotation marks, and the end punctuation gets tucked in inside the quotes. Okay? Don't forget that. If you put it in the wrong spot, oops, I almost forgot my other triangle. If you put it in the wrong spot, scoot it right now. Carson, Oliver, and Leo can each skip stones on the lake. Now, is the boy's name Carson Oliver, or are there 3 boys there? Carson Oliver. Now, there could be a boy named Carson Oliver, but probably not, right? Carson, Oliver, and Leo can each skip stones on the lake. Carson, comma, because here's a list. And now it's everything before the and back between. So before the and then back. So before and before Oliver. So Carson, Oliver, and Leo can each skip stones on the lake. That's just a regular old declarative, letting you know what they can do. On June 9th, 2020 is our family reunion. This one is very interesting, boys and girls. I hope we get to have family reunions in June 2020. Praying that this virus would go away and we'd be able to get together with grandmas and grandpas and the people we haven't seen in a bit. So let's see. June 9th. So here's a date right here. The comma goes after the day and after the year. Yes, does this sound familiar? We did this before. June 9th, comma, 2020, comma, is our family reunion, period. Regular information. Ooh, this one, boys and girls, is this whole thing. It is an address. Do you remember how to do addresses? Okay. Miss Crystal Sumner, that's her name. Miss Crystal Sumner, 729 Lakeshore Drive, that's the street. But there's an abbreviation that they stuck in there. Drive is spelled D-R-I-V-E, but that's an abbreviation, so it needs a period. Baltimore, Maryland, 21223. There's a comma between the city and the, you know it, state. So Baltimore is the city, Maryland is the state, and there's a comma in between. And honestly, I wouldn't put this right there. If I was writing someone's address, it's in the book, so we're not going to get rid of it. But I wouldn't put a period after the date right there. I mean, after the zip code. Number 5. Have you seen the quilt Grandma is making for my bed? Now, this one sounds excited, but it is a question. So, have you seen the quilt Grandma is making for my bed? Do we put a comma? I'm just wondering, do we put a comma here? Are we talking to Grandma in the sentence? Are we pausing to talk to Grandma? Have you seen the quilt, comma, Grandma is making for my bed? No, we're not stopping to talk to Grandma. We're just telling you about the quilt Grandma's making. So the only punctuation we have right here is what? The question at the end. There we go. This part I'm going to let you do on your own. Write as many adjectives as you can think of for your noun friend. So is my friend kind? Is my friend funny? Is my friend loud? Is my friend, let's see, creative? So don't try and think of more creative adjectives, boys and girls. Don't just say nice, loving, kind, even though I use some of those. Try and stretch your brains a little bit. Impress your parents. Write as many adverbs as you can to think of the word walk. Okay, so how do you walk? I walk quickly. Most of these will end in ly. Quickly. I walk quietly. Now, sometimes I walk loudly. Abigail was tap dancing just a minute ago, and her feet were going, loudly. Forgive me. Loudly. Okay, so how do you walk? Describe it with an adverb. All right, boys and girls, if you're done for the day, that's the end of our page. If not, you can keep going with us or pause your video and come back to this tomorrow. All right, we are on page 159. How are you doing? It's good to have you. I wish I was talking to you in person and giving you a hug, but this is the next best thing. For people like Ellen, this is nice. You could see this better than the board, right? The shiny whiteboard. This is actually clearer. Diagramming subjects, verbs, and adverbs. Okay, we remember how to do this. Mr. Morton is the subject, and the predicate is what he does. And the predicate always has a verb. It has an action in it. And the adverb tells, I'm going to switch colors. The adverb tells how or when or how often the action is happening. So let's look at it. Mark the sentence carefully. I added carefully. The astronaut carefully repaired the spacecraft. It says circle the adverb that describes the verb. Draw a small arrow from the adverb to the verb it describes. Diagram the sentence. I love sentence diagramming. If I could create sentence diagramming on your Google tests, I would, but I just don't know how to do that. So mark the sentences, diagram the subject, the verb, and the adverb. Okay, here we go. Molly poured hot syrup on her pancakes slowly. So who did the action? Let's see, Molly. And what did she do? Poured. And how did she pour? She poured hot syrup. That's what she poured on her pancakes. That's where she poured it. How did she pour it? Slowly. Slowly. So I'm going to write these on my lines. Molly poured. How did you pour? Slowly. And if you've ever poured pancake syrup too fast, you have pancake soup all over your plate. All right, let's look at the next one. Often, Joseph helps Pastor Allen. Let's see, who's doing the work in this sentence? It's Joseph. Joseph, what's he doing? He helps Pastor Allen. Now, Pastor Allen is not how he helps. That's who he helps. How often, when, or how, often answers how he helps. Here we go. How often. So we write Joseph on the line. Joseph. What does he do? He helps. Often. Excellent, boys and girls. Who's feeling confident right now? Give yourself a pat on the back. I'm proud of you. Okay, I bet a lot of you, this is some new lessons for your parents too, so they might actually learn something. I didn't learn sentence diagramming until I was in high school and then relearned it again in college, so you guys are probably ahead of the game. Okay, today Wyatt and Emma will celebrate their birthdays. Awesome. So, this is why I love sentence diagramming. There's 2 lines here. So we know that there's 2 subjects, right? So we won't forget one. All right. So we have who is the subject in the sentence. We have Wyatt and we have Emma. What will they do? They will celebrate. Ooh, remember, this is our helping verb right here. This is a verb phrase, will celebrate. They will celebrate. Those work together. And
I'm so sorry.
what is the adverb answering how they'll celebrate or when? Today. All right, so on our line we write Wyatt. Happy birthday, Wyatt. Happy birthday, Emma. Oops, Emma. What will they do? They will celebrate, just like Caden and Matthew celebrated. And for those of you who will want some royal readers, please, please, please let Mrs. Kornthal know. And we will invite your royal reader to read when we are in Zoom. All right. If you're done for the day, see you later. If you're ready for more, keep going. We're done with page 159. All right. Page 160. Welcome back. For those of you who just started your new video today, for those of you who are still going, way to go. Make sure you do not wait for me to answer the questions. Remember, like when we exercise, if you're just watching an exercise video from the couch, are you getting stronger? No. So make sure you think about it. You write your answers in first and follow me with corrections. If you need to change something, that's great. This is how we learn, but make sure you're doing the work. All right. An adverb. This is remember. Okay, you should remember this. An adverb is a word that describes a verb. We've been doing this a lot. Some adverbs tell how, some tell when, some tell how often. So how the action of the verb is done. Some adverbs tell when the action of the verb happened. Some adverbs tell how often the action of the verb happened. So it says complete each sentence by writing an adverb that answers the question in the parentheses. All right. Grace opened her birthday gift. How? How did she open? So you're thinking about describing how she opened. Could you say quickly, excitedly? Yeah, sure. Quickly. Enthusiastically. I mean, you can get some big words in here, boys and girls. You don't have to limit it to what I picked. Noah, something. How did Noah ask his mom for a snack? How did he ask his mom for a snack? Ooh, could he have good manners? Politely? Yes. You ask, now Noah might not have manners. How do you think Noah asked his mom for a snack? Mom and I made cherry jam when? Could you say yesterday? Could you say last Friday? Yes. But when? This morning? Sure. Okay, Dad and I, how often? Help Mom fold the laundry. Daily. Ooh, how about, you could actually say often, and that would be correct also. Okay, this one's going to answer when. When Jonathan won an award. When? You could say yesterday. Yesterday. Jonathan won an award. You fill those in. I'm going to leave that up to you. Make sure you do them well. Think about it. Make sure they fit and they make sense. Okay, we're going to mark the sentence again. Don't forget that part. If you only do half, you have only done half the work. Diagram the subject, verb, and adverb. This is just like the page we did before. So let's get started. Sam and Jared wear seat belts in the car always. All right. I love it because look, they remind us there's two different subjects here. And what are they? Who's doing the action? Sam and Jared. Sam and Jared. Sam, I miss you. What do? They wear seatbelts in the car always. Seatbelts is not answer when or how often. Seatbelts just tell you what they wear. So they wear always. Always tells how often. Here we go. So Sam and Jared wear seatbelts in the car always. So doesn't it have the adverb does not have to be next to the verb for it to describe it. What do they do? Wear. How often? Always. Good job. I hope you always wear your seatbelt in the car too. Okay. Mrs. Lewis arranged the fruit in the basket beautifully. Beautifully. Mrs. Lewis. Arrange the fruit in the basket beautifully. So who is the who? Mrs. Lewis is our subject. And what is she doing? She arranged. And how or when or how often did she arrange the fruit in the basket? Beautifully. Okay, it's not the fruit. It's not in the basket. That just tell you what she's doing. But how often or how beautifully would describe that. So Mrs. Lewis goes on the line. Arranged is what she did. That's the verb. And she did it beautifully. Excellent, boys and girls. I miss you. Good job today. And this is not an I. I'm going to erase that for you. I miss you. Keep up the good work.